Welcome. Good morning, everyone. If there's anybody new today, we have a welcome packet for you that you can pick up after the service. We're happy you're here. And if you'd like a tour of the grounds, we have a welcome committee that will take you around and show you. We'd like to start with a song from Dalton.
Good morning, everybody. I'm getting over a little bit of a chest cold here, so I hope you'll forgive the Leonard Cohen version of some of these songs. This does have a little bit of a sing-along in the middle, though, and I'd like you to help me out when we get there, okay? I'm raising the veil between me and my God. There's no separation, no distance at all. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. I'm raising the veil between me and my God. There's no separation, no distance at all. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. I'm raising the veil. Oh, God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. I'm raising the veil. I want to know you. And you say, oh God, I'm raising the veil. I want to see you. Let me hear it. Oh God, I'm raising the veil. I want to hear you. Oh God, I want to feel you. I want to praise you. I want to love you. I'm raising the veil between me and my God. There's no separation, no distance at all. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. I'm raising the veil. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. I'm raising the veil. God is right here in my heart. I'm raising the veil. Said God is right here in my heart. I'm raising the veil.
Thank you, Dalton. I enjoyed that song. I'm Christy Carr, and I want to welcome you to the Center for Spiritual Living, where we inspire and empower people to live spiritually fulfilling lives. The practitioners in service today will be available for prayer service after the service by the bell. So let's all turn and wave to the camera as we invite the children up. Okay, I see a little one back there. You're welcome to come up and go out there if you'd like. No? Okay. I'd like to help. I'd like to thank all the people who came early in service today to make this possible. I also invite you to silence your cell phones at this time. And I'd like to have everybody stand up that has a birthday this month. Oh, gosh. Cher would like to come up and have an announcement today, so we'll let her go first.
Well, if you like adventure, we hope you'll join us today at 11:30 for adventure planning for SOAR. And that is the Spirit of Adventure Renewed. And we explore the 75-mile radius all around our greater Reading area. And we have some fabulous things planned for this year. So 11:30 back here, and you get to make the choices. Thanks.
Thank you, Cher. So I'd like to introduce Randy Torkelson, Reverend Andy Torkelson today. He's here to talk to us today. And if you haven't heard him before, he's wonderful. He gives a good talk. SOAR, hang on. The Tao of Watercolor, the essentials for watercolor painting and beginners. So if you're a beginner and want to do some watercolor, now's the time. It starts, Sherry Wyndham. It starts at 9:30 to noon. What day? Monday, this Monday. Sacred Sisters Women's Group is going to meet Monday on the 8th. Invited Kathleen Payton and Reverend Sue Marriott-Bourne. My goodness. Sue Miller-Bourne. So we're going to stay with the I Will Not Die and Unlived Alive. So come join us for a good night of healing. The men's group starts this week, Monday the 8th from 7 to 9 o'clock, and exploring the roots of the science of mind with Reverend Dr. Mary Mitchell, starting Tuesday, January 9th from 12:30 to 3:30. Next, the journey of a dark night or enlightenment with Reverend Sue. This class starts Wednesday from 7 to 8:30, and she also has a Zoom link if you want to Zoom. The bead therapy will be this weekend on Saturday from 1 to 4, and we've moved along from the beads, although you can still, learn the beads, but we try to have something different every month now, so we're being more creative. The New Moon Circle with Lori Buckman is on Saturday, January 13th from 6:30 to 8:30, where the women get together and foster some growth and set direction together. It's a really good group, so please join us. And the Essence of the Science of Mind with Reverend Dr. Mary is next Sunday after service from 11:15 to 12:15. It's January 14th. And this meeting is exploring the membership in our 2 required classes for becoming a member. And it's a really good class for those who want to learn the science of mind and the history of. So we have a reading, and then I'll do a treatment, and then we'll have Reverend Andy. Yeah, we have a reading right now.
Good morning. This is from Earnest Holmes. Our thought should tend more and more toward an affirmation attitude of the mind that is positive, stable, and above all else, toward a real unity with spirit, that is already complete and perfect.
If you're comfortable, close your eyes. Take a deep breath in with me. Breathe in this opportunity for a clean new slate and release anything that stands in your way. And join with me in knowing that God is all there is. There is one power, this one amazing presence, this powerful spirit that presides over the beautiful universe. The spirit is perfect love. The spirit is right here, right now. This spirit is on time and everywhere present. I am one with this amazing spirit, meandering its way in, around, and through me, flowing throughout every cell in our body. Knowing that if it is true for me, it is also true for you. I speak my word for myself as I do for every one of you, that today is a new day. It's a clean slate. It's a new beginning, knowing that on this day we are granted a spiritual reprieve, a day where there are endless opportunities available to every one of us, and we get to show up in ways that we have never shown up before. We get to connect with people in ways we never thought possible. We get to see the world through a new set of eyes. Knowing this, we clear the clutter going on in our lives and open up to the message offered to us by Reverend Andy, allowing us to create an energy and ripple of love that we show throughout the entire world. I give thanks for the opportunity to start this day anew. I give thanks for our willingness to show up and say yes. I give thanks for all the opportunities that I have to show up in service to my community today. I release my word to the law of mind, knowing it to be true as we sit here right now. So I invite you to join with me in saying, and so it is. Reverend Andy.
Good morning, everybody. It's so great to be here. Happy New Year. That's kind of what we're talking about today in terms of a new dawn. I always enjoy being up here. Reverend Sue and Reverend Mary do such a great job. Can you guys hear me okay? Sounds like this is a little bit, I need to hold it closer. Okay. All right. There we are. Okay. Right in here. Okay. I'm getting directions back there. I got to say, the fire helmet, was that cool? I'm not kidding. I just love that. Like, just to be your bad self, right? Just like, I'm wearing the helmet. I love that. I love that. I get just that feeling of just being so free and to be able to, but anyway, I thought that was so great. All right. Years ago when I was the minister in Paradise, I was going to be doing a series of classes on based on the videos that Bill Moyers did with Joseph Campbell. You know, that classic. I don't know how many of you remember those. Those were so great. And so what I did was during the week, I can't remember what night we were doing it, but prior to that, I would sit down and I'd watch the video alone in the sanctuary there in Paradise, and I'd put it on the system. You know, and we had a pretty neat system for video to show videos. And so I'd sit there and of course I had material, but I'd watch it and I'd listen to what he's saying and put together some notes so I could put together the work that people would get when they attended the class. And there was this one particular video where Joseph Campbell is talking about the cave paintings in Europe that we're all familiar with. Maybe some of you have actually seen them. I've never seen them in person, but I've seen videos and pictures of them. And it's the herds of animals that that are in there, and these incredible caverns. And Joseph Campbell said these were our ancestors' cathedrals. These were, and so it's interesting because when you go into cathedrals, you know, in recent history, the last few hundred years, you see the stained glass and you see the imagery of icons like Jesus and other people, and you get all the colors and everything. But it's interesting that our ancestors would cover the walls with animals and herd animals and predatory animals, and then they would mix in images of human beings. And I sat there and I found it incredibly moving. And Joseph Campbell was talking about the idea that he feels like our ancestors were entering into these incredible caverns that were so huge. And he says you have to understand that when they went down there, I mean, it was absolutely black, you know, and so they would carry torches in there, and then they would light a fire, you know, to be able to illuminate these walls. And imagine them, you know, however they got themselves up there to do this work, and the flickering of the light, and just how magical that must have seemed, and so primal. It's like the beginnings of the universe, like somehow the universe breaking forth, and the different shadows and firelight on the walls of the caverns, and they would make these paintings. And so Joseph Campbell talked about, basically he felt like he feels that the archetypal work he does and stuff is this idea that our ancestors were looking for the womb of creation, the very spark of creation, and what was there at that spark of birth. And there's an old-fashioned word that if you read old metaphysical material, you go back to Emmett Curtis Hopkins, you know, Earnest Holmes, the Fillmores, and you see this word quicken all the time. And there was this idea that prior to manifestation, there's the quickening of the heart, there's the quickening of the mind. And I've always been curious about that word, and I look it up, and basically, you know, and I've thought about a lot about it over the years, that the quickening is that it's that flash, that spark just before conception, just before birth. And so basically what Joseph Campbell said was that, now I know that, you know, obviously a lot of you in this building today, women, you have had children. And so when we talk about the birthing process, there's the birthing process from the standpoint of a woman who is giving birth. But Joseph Campbell talks about the idea that the spiritual way to think about this, and that seems to draw us into it, is the other side of that, so to speak. We have the sacred feminine, which is birthing, but what about what is being birthed? And that's what Joseph Campbell felt, that's what they were looking for. To be, what is it to be birthed? What is it to be in that place? The herds running out, the humans running out, life coming forward. And I remember some years ago in transformational psychology, there was a lot of this, you know, everyone was invited to go back into the birth, you know, revisit your birthing process and being birthed. And there was all that stuff, and it was being led. It was done in water a lot. It was done, and it was somehow, and it was to unblock people who found themselves stuck and weren't moving ahead in life. And so this idea of actually being part of that. And so when I was sitting there watching this and watching the images and thinking about the archetypes and the metaphor and the birthing, and the reason this is so important in our teaching is because our teaching is predicated on bringing forth manifestations. In other words, this idea, you know, a lot of times when we want to change our lives, it's like, well, I know what I don't want to do. I know what I want to move beyond, but what's the idea of, you know, where am I going to, and what am I building, and what am I becoming? And that's where religious science, Centers for Spiritual Living, Science of Mind, all these teachings, this is the bedrock of our teaching. Transformation, evolution, growth, moving forward. Where am I going? And so I sat there that day and I'm watching this. And suddenly I was triggered to think about a personal experience I had. And when I'm going to tell you the story of the experience that I was triggered to, and it's like, I thought, what is the connection here? It's so weird that I'm triggered to this memory from my past. And what came up for me was that during my 20s and into my very early 30s, my life was a real disaster. I had manifested a very challenging, unhealthy, unskilled life. And I was struggling on all levels. And I was just kind of, going along and just trying to make sense of it and digging deeper holes for myself and making a lot of unhealthy decisions and those kinds of things. But during my 20s, there was an experience that I had over the course of about, I would say, 3 or 4 summers, where for a few days I would go up to Eagle Lake, and the Eagle Lake near Susanville, and go into that high altitude. And I knew an older gentleman who had a cabin up there, and he was a very stoic and quiet individual. And I had a relationship with him. I had a connection to him. And he would fish Eagle Lake all summer long, and he had a boat, and he would go on out there, and so for a few 2 or 3 days I would go out there and I would fish with him in the summer sometime. And that went on for about 3 or 4 years. And back in those days, I worked in lumber mills a lot, and I worked a lot of night shifts. And so I wasn't really super familiar with the early morning except from the back end of it. You know what I'm saying? In other words, I would get off at like 1 or 2 in the morning. I wasn't necessarily aware of the morning where you wake up, early and have your cup of coffee and everything. I knew the other end of it. And so my day started usually around, 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock in the morning and noon. So his way was, okay, I want you to wake up about 3:30, 4 o'clock, and we're going to head down there and go on out into the lake, because he wanted to be out on the lake. He wanted to be out there at daybreak in terms of where he wanted to fish. And so that was a really strange experience for me. So we would go down to the boat, and if you know Eagle Lake up there in Susanville, middle of summer, I mean, we're talking, oh my God, cold. You know what I'm saying? Like today, cold, and sometimes colder, especially if there was a little wind out there and stuff. And so, all bundled up, and we go out there and we get into his boat. And he had to crawl his boat out almost like on an idle for about sometimes as much as 30 yards through the tules. And in those tules were the home of all kinds of birds, and they'd be kind of starting to make noise and jumping around as we would go through. And there was this incredible, interesting noise. It was nature breaking loose, insects and birds and stuff, and they were chirping at each other and jumping around and starting to fly around a little bit. And the boat was at such an idle, it was very quiet, and we're just going through there, and we could hear it. He would go through there very easily until he got past before he would really open up the engine. And so I'd sit there, and it touched something in me, and I didn't know what it was. It wasn't emotional. It wasn't psychological. It was touching a deeper part of myself that I learned many years later. What it was touching. And so then we would go out onto the lake, and I don't know how he found his way out there because it was just so dark. And once we would get out there was another experience that again touched my heart, and that was along the ridge to the east there. All of a sudden there would be this little ribbon of light, and you could see the outline of the ridge, just a little ribbon of light. And I would watch that, and it would grow and grow until it exploded at some point into a halo as the day came forth. I found that to be very moving. Now, obviously I'm a chatty person. I like to talk. And when I'm around people that aren't talking, I kind of get nervous sometimes. And he was very stoic and very quiet. He wasn't a man who I would say I never heard him talk about anything overtly spiritual. He certainly was not a religious person. But in looking back, I really think that his summers on that lake were his church. I really do. I think he always had a thermos of coffee, and he would sit there. We put the line, and it was drift fishing, so you put it out there, you just let it drift, right? And sometimes I was like, God, I hope I don't catch anything. I just want to enjoy this, I want to enjoy this peace. So years later, when I discovered this teaching, what I realized was that the part of me that was touched, not my psychological self, not my emotional self, it was a deep spiritual touching. Because in that moment, I feel like that was my cave painting experience of being present for the birthing of life, the quickening, the breaking. Today we're talking about the dawn. And there's that little piece just before the dawn that is this place of creation. There's this place where, maybe we know where we want to go. Maybe we're being led somewhere. And there's that little piece just before, that very thin sort of razor edge, like the light that came over the ridge, like the birds who are waking up, the womb of creation that says, okay, we're going in, or we're going out. We're going forward. That place that, and in getting to know that word, I found it very exciting. It's like, the quickening. It's like the idle of the engine. It's like that being all in. In the material that I was given to get ready for the talk this week, they talk about the fact that a few years ago we came through COVID, and everyone, we're all sitting in our houses. We're all, we have the masks on. We're very limited. If we did go to the store, we stayed away from everybody. Nobody talked to each other. We got to know people through their eyes. That was so interesting to me. Did you guys find that? Trying to figure out what someone's thinking just with the eyes. We didn't have any other clue, right? Okay. It was such an interesting time. And for me, I can't speak for you, but for me, there was even in the midst of people, I found it sort of lonely. I found it isolated. I found like I kind of lost my foundation. I was kind of adrift a little bit. And where I worked got very strange, around this whole COVID thing. And so a lot of, and then we were binging movies, and we were, if we decided to go out to eat, we would, call it in and run out there, and they would come out to our car, and we would get, 10 feet apart, and they kind of throw it to us, and we throw them the credit card and go, we were all afraid of each other. And I think a lot of us were like, God, I can't wait to get back to normal. I can't wait to get back to normal. But we know that that's an impossibility. And we certainly know it now, a couple of years later. It's been an impossibility. And what's the deal there? Well, what was happening for me in my 20s, I would go out there in the boat with this gentleman, and so somewhere around 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock in the morning, depending upon, there was a limit of fish you could get. Depending upon the limit, he would head back in. And that sweet feeling that ran over me of being in the midst of that breaking dawn, in the midst of that experience, and feeling somehow whole out there, feeling somehow energized, but not in a crazy way, in a very serene way, in a very peaceful way, unlike the life I was living on the shore. And so when he decided he would fire up the boat and we would go back, I felt myself becoming discouraged and depressed. It's like, oh, yeah, we're going back. Because I was not moving forward in my life in terms of creation. All of the great spiritual teachers and masters that we study and we quote, and who we follow through different religious ideas, the thing that they all have in common is this idea of transformation, moving forward. That's the basis of what healing is. In my day job, I work with addiction, and I do rehab work around addiction. And with my clients, very often it's like what I said before. they walk in the room and, and it's like, well, I got a DUI, or, my loved one wants to leave me, or I'm losing my job, or, or whatever. There's always that disaster. There's always that, I've got to deal with something. I've kind of blown my life apart. So I want to get away from that, want to get away from that, want to get away from that. But that's only part. And I don't even think that that's half of the equation. It's part of the equation to say, I know what I want to get away from, but the idea, where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? And that's where the conversation very often breaks down, because like what the material told me, after COVID, after everything hits the fan, at some level, we just kind of want to settle back into what's normal. But that's not transformation. That's not moving forward. Those birds waking up in the tules, they were not going to have the same day they had as yesterday. The morning that broke that I was part of was not going to be the same as it was the day before. Our ancestors were drawn to those cave paintings. They were drawn to do those cave paintings because they were drawn, there's a part of us. There's a part of us in nature that draws us forward into the next experience. Why did they want to go into the cathedral of birth? Because they wanted to be part of that. You say, well, you already are. You're here. Yeah, but what's next? Where are we going? What is next for us? As human beings, we are designed to look to the horizon. We are designed to move forward on every stage of life. Obviously, when we're younger, we want to go join the circus, right? We want to go become a rock star. We want to go cure some disease, right? And then later on, maybe we want to explore, all those things in our life that we have all these deep feelings about, or we want to widen our horizons, or we want to think about moving forward in ways that maybe we never thought about before in terms of what's next, the big what's next. How can I be a better person? I've moved beyond my kids to my grandkids. And then I moved beyond my career to another time. What's next? We're drawn to that. One of my favorite writers who inspires me a lot, he's a gentleman who he writes very much in what I would call the spiritual men's movement. And he's part of a book, A Quiet Resolve is this book that I got years ago. I'm sorry. A Quiet Strength. I got this book years ago, and he with two other writers. It's a daily kind of book, and I don't know how many of you guys have those kinds of. I love those books. You flip to the date, and that's how you start your day. I love that stuff, right? And so I used to have a big collection of those. And this book I just completely wore out. And his name is John Lee. He's a writer. He's in the recovery movement. He's in the spiritual movement. He's in the men's movement. And I love his ideas. And John Lee said in an inspirational piece, in the dark morning, I love that, the dark morning, I feel the loving, quiet awakening of a higher experience coming forth. The peace one feels from a deep connection that arrives with the dawn. Isn't that interesting? The dawn is new, but we have a deep connection with it. Sometimes I think we think my connection has to be with what I know. No, I have a connection with the dawn. From a place perfect in silence and in love, the very foundation of evolution. Wow. The quickening, the birthing, the connection of evolution. I have developed such a strong feeling about early morning over the years that now I'm a counselor that works in drug rehabilitation. And my job is to, walk with people through the journey of coming through substance abuse and addiction into recovery and abstinence and building a different life. And my job is to meet them where they are. My job is to help walk the journey. And my job is to put out some information there. And whatever they take, and whatever they do with it, they do. And however they structure it, I'm down for that. You gotta be authentic. You gotta make your recovery your own. You gotta take all these ideas and build something that's all yours, right? But I have become dogmatic about, in fact, they really give me a hard time about this. Early morning practice. And I go a step further. Early morning journaling practice. I don't want to journal, Andy. I don't care. I get up early. Make your bed. Get your coffee. Get somewhere quiet with your journal and begin to work. Why? Because it's the idea of familiarizing ourselves with the birthing process, the quickening, the dawn, the potential and possibility. Our teaching is all about possibility and potentiality. It lives in that place of the dawn. I love this idea. I know that our calendar is completely some people's construct, our ancestors' construct of, trying to, as people, we just want to organize everything to death, right? And so we've organized our year, we organize our calendar. But I love the idea of New Year's. I love it. The idea that we're moving over into what is this year going to be? What am I standing on the edge of? Charles Fillmore says, the founder of Unity, a sister teaching of ours, dawn takes place when a spiritual perfection truly takes place through a dawning light in consciousness, increasing as we awaken steadily toward a higher truth. Birthing is an awakening within us to our unity with one spirit. Awakening, increasing as we awaken steadily toward a higher truth. On the precipice of creation, right there in that flickering light of the quickening where we dedicate ourselves to move forward into it. So, what I realized, and I was thinking about this when I read the material this week, and it brought up the whole pandemic thing. And I thought, wow, back there in my early 20s, not early, whole thing, whole train wreck, okay? Back there in my 20s, there was some pandemic going on that I was not willing to move beyond. I was not willing to move into that place of the quickening, the edge of creation, and to allow myself to be birthed, to allow myself to come through, to allow myself to completely transcend. That's one of the reasons I think that nature inspires me so much, because, the birds and the tulies, man, they just do it. They don't get hung up. They're not worried. They're not catastrophizing about the day. They're not hung up on yesterday. And what's amazing to me was, before that ribbon of light even came up, they were starting to move. I love that. Let's get our engines going. Let's get the wings warmed up. We're about ready to take flight, to move forward. I think in the time that we are living, without going into details, because I think that's all I need to say is the time we're living and CNN, okay? I think you get the rest, right? Okay. In the time we're living, what are we being called to create? What are we being called to have this year become? And to engage it with the same audacity as those birds, as that sunlight, as that dawn. To stand in a birthing, a transformation, a journey of evolution. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to it. You want to help me put a bow on this thing? All right. Okay. So, I'm going to take us into a prayerful piece. If you'll join me, please. As we come into a realization this day that we stand on the precipice, the quickening, the very edge of dawn, and we allow ourselves to gaze upon those stars as they begin to slowly rotate away, and the day in which we live rotates to the place where we are. And we steel our spine, and we set our intention to open up to everything that comes forth within that sunlight, within that day. As our ancestors would say, the great getting up day. I can't wait for the great getting up day. And I will enter that day. I will make the most of that day. And I will allow this divine birthing process to carry me forth into the manifestation that this world is waiting for. I am so grateful for the healing power of this teaching. I'm so grateful for the way that it pulls us into possibility and potentiality. A teaching that honors our authenticity as children of spirit. And in my gratitude for this, I let my word go, knowing that it's so. And so it is. All right. Thank you guys so much. Happy New Year.
I suspect you guys are going to be familiar with this one.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, bright blessed day, dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of the people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of the people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying I love you. I hear babies cry. I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Thank you, Dalton. I never really know the words to those songs, so it's nice that they're up there. May I have the ushers come forward, please? As I prepare to give my offering, my heart is filled with love and appreciation, since what is offered here is for my spiritual well-being. I am filled with gratitude, knowing life stays in balance, for as I give, I receive.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. Sing along. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed.
I give thanks for the blessed donations received in the offering this morning and during the week. I know each dollar supports this spiritual family in many ways as we grow together, pray together, and give thanks for all this sinner has been blessed with today and always. And so it is. Is it a stand-up song?
Okay, why don't you guys all stand up and stretch out here? I guess there's no further announcements or anything else to say on that subject. So it's a glorious, chilly, sunshiny day outside. I need a little extra help this morning, so feel free to lift your voices up. If you've never heard this song before, you'll pick it up pretty fast because it's a call and response.
May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be free. May I be free. May my friends be happy. May my friends be peaceful. May my friends be free. May they be free. If anyone has hurt me, I now freely forgive. If I have hurt anybody, may they forgive me now. May they forgive me now. May my enemies be happy. May my enemies be peaceful. May my enemies be free. May they be free. If anyone has hurt me, I now freely forgive. If I have hurt anybody, may they forgive me now. I forgive myself right now. May all beings be happy. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be free. May they be free. May we all be free. May we all be free. May we all be, what's that word again? Free.
Enjoy the rest of your day. There's some treats in the social hall, so enjoy your treats and your conversation. And if you need prayer service, practitioners will be by the bell. Have a wonderful day.